Ooh, should I? Okay. Just a quick word about my company. It's an IT services company working for the EMEA since 2002. So I'm not linked to we're not linked to a vendor. My name is Laurent Desqueper. I'm a business analyst, but I'm here as representing Trasys and not the EMEA this time. Next slide, please. So that's the agenda. Let's just an overview of my perception of the electronic prescription and maybe the concepts that need to be managed in that area, and then more and more information maybe, and then elements for your consideration. Yes, next. Yes, if we look at the electronic prescription from a data perspective, we should not build a standard alone. In my mind, we should take into account the data interoperability from the beginning, because there are upward standards to be used to feed the electronic SMPC or the electronic prescription, and then there are downward standards that will use the SMPC, the electronic SMPC, for their consequential job. Upwards, you have the authorization process, so the eCTD, the SMPC, or later on the RPS. And then downwards, you have the electronic record, and then the ICSR for the pharmacovigilance as well. And then for those standards, to try to have a bridge between them, we need to look at the concepts, the dictionaries, and also the processes. Yep, next, please. So that's my naive picture of where we are with industry, the authorities, and the exchange of information using the eCTD on the right-hand side. Then there is a need to provide electronic SMPC to doctors and pharmacy to assist in prescription for the patient, but that information will also be used, unfortunately, when receiving ICSR through the pharmacovigilance process. So the e-SPC, which is in red in the middle, is surrounded by standards, concepts, so they have to live with those standards and concepts. Now, is there a missing stakeholder? Maybe, but that's my personal view on the topic. It's also a response to some of the comments we had previously about where is the industry, what about pharmacovigilance. Now, I think it's important to put them in the picture. Yes, next, please. So if we look at these different standards between the different stakeholders, the 2 by 2, so we have the review process where we have the exchange of eCTD, and within the module 1, the labeling, and then the SMPC. That exchange information about the product definition, the product usage, about indication, posology, contraindication, and so on, and a product identification. That's where we found the marketing authorization numbers, for instance. There is no dictionary for the moment because this is more free text, unfortunately. Yes, next. We have the health record database that contains information about the patient, the medical history and the drug history, with also identification of products, and then its usage, definition, and so on. I'm not well aware about those standards, so I will not say anything about dictionaries and so on. Please, next. That one I'm a bit more aware about the pharmacovigilance, where there is a need to report on side effects, on adverse event and reaction, in fact, where we have to support the patient, the medical history, the drug history. So again, a product identification and product definition, and product usage about indication and so on. The reaction, and of course, the drug as well. There are dictionaries for the moment, Medra and Newcom. In the next version of the ICSR, so the version R3, you will be normally the support of IDMP and related standards. So e-SPC is in the middle of those three standards, so SMPC, the paper version, EHR, and ICSR, with the need to cover to make the link to bridge information between those standards regarding the identification of the product. That would be useful to find the product. It's a bit straightforward, but it's important to know what kind of identification will be used. The definition, it's also a way to search for the product, but to view the product as well. And then the usage, which is the main part of the information to assist in the prescription of the product. In fact, there are three use cases, if I talk the IT language for a bit. And the information underlying the e-SPC should support those 3 use cases. Yep, next please. So that's what could be an e-SPC content, where we should carry the medicinal product identification, so a lot of IDs at different level, maybe for the product itself, for the substance, and maybe for packages as well. The product definition, where we can find the name, the form, the substance, the strength, the dosage, and so on. And then the usage, where you can find indication, contraindication, and warnings. There are support from MedDRA, but roughly it will be text in the current SPC, and it might end up with text anyway in electronic SPC, but hopefully with meta information. So that's a vision. We can go on the next slide, please. To support the different business processes, maybe around prescription. So again, find a medicinal product. For that, we need IDs to retrieve the information, but also names, authorization numbers, holders, indication most probably, but that must be coded just to avoid the full text search, which will lead to false results. So that must be coded. We need to view the information, and then we need a model to represent that information. We also probably need to further specify what kind of information we are looking for, especially from the prescriber point of view, to avoid to read these 30 pages document and then to focus on indication, posology, contraindication, or whatever. Then we need to search for medicinal product. It's a bit attached to what I just said about the metadata, just to focus on what the viewer is looking for. And then we need a fourth part of the model to compute some information, especially around dosages, to link the dosage, the current dosage of the current prescription with an age, the weight, maybe the timeline of the dosage, to start with a high dosage and then to have a dosage en régime, and to assist the prescriber with that. So we need a model for that computation part as well. So that's the 4 bits of the electronic SMPC, again, in my humble opinion. Now a proposed vision to support the electronic SPC. We need to focus on the SMPC dissemination and probably not to focus on the review process. We tried that in the past with difficulties. So here the goal is a bit different. So we need to support prescribers. We need to give them much more information, much more structured information, maybe not jeopardize that with the review process. We also need to derive the e-SMPC from the approved SPC. The idea is to do that on the authorization process, not lower than that. So to keep the milestones of the authorization and the variation or the post-authorization processes. To split the information which is currently at the level of the document to a lower granularity to assist that search, in fact. I don't think we can get rid of those text-based information, but we need to enrich them with terminologies, IDs, meta-information, so in fact to XMLize the information that resides currently in the text information. And then to define that business model to support the prescription process, to assist to compute dosage and so on. The last bullet also is important, is to be sure that the SMPC that is provided to the healthcare professional is effectively in line with the SMPC that is approved by the authorities. And that must be done a way or another. Next, please. So the vision is there. Once we have the submission and the approval of the authorization of the variation of the paper-based SMPC, then it's time to derive somehow, maybe automatically, maybe manually, maybe provided by the industry, maybe generated by the authority. That's another concern, but to provide that information in an XML way, because I think that's the target, containing the text, but with identification, the definition, a bit like the IDMP does, meta-information to be able to dig into the information we are looking for, and then that business model for the computation of dosage and so on. And then we'll have the information available for systems to do their job in front of the prescribers. In terms of steps to achieve that, I think there are two lanes. One which is much more business-wise, and the other which is much more technical-wise. For the business, we need to look at the business process about the way the information is consumed at the end, the process for prescription, difficult to say, in order to be sure that about the information that is needed at the end of the data flow. Then we need that model, that business model to assist the computation, and I don't think it will be an easy one, especially with the advanced therapy that might be very difficult to prescribe. And then to look at the terminology, either to represent the information, but also to attach to the information to find specific information, contraindication, link between drugs, and so on and so on. On the technical side, we need to work on the identification of the medicinal product, knowing that we have different IDs for the moment because of the different procedures to approve the medicine. We have this EVMPD, which is an interim solution before having the IDMP in a couple of years. So there are different ways to identify product and substances. We need to choose what will be used for the e-SPC initiative. Then we need to modelize the information, so to XMLize, if we can say, the information itself to support the exchange between authority, industry on one side, and then prescribers on the other side, so that everybody knows about the medicinal product. And then same concern with the business to define, agree, disseminate, publish terminologies to be used in the model. And I think those two paths can be initiated at the same time, probably with different stakeholders, but leading the same goal. Now, while preparing this slideshow, I have a lot of concerns, and I would like to share that with you. I have no solutions, but only concerns. Sorry for that. The medicinal products change over time, so there will be a need to disseminate, redisseminate the information with the problem of versioning, and to be sure that we are talking about the latest version available. So there is already one concern. We also talk about that, the granularity of information, at what level the information, the e-SPC, should be attached. Do we talk about order and product when we want to improve or enhance the use of work sharing procedures? Or do we talk about the form and the strength, which is naturally what we are using now for the SPC authorization in paper? Or do we go to a lower granularity at the package level, which is in line with what the prescriber will prescribe? He will give a package to the patient. Maybe that's the right level for the SPC. So we have a variety of levels to where to attach the SPC. Which one is the good one? To think about that. Yes, next slide, please. There are also existing initiatives about electronic prescription. I'm sure of that, whether in the NCAs like in Sweden or in the US with SPL, maybe in Japan as well. Maybe reuse what has been done and not reinvent the wheel. I also think that in the middle of the game, we have the doctors and the prescribers, and those persons need to be in charge of the ICSR in pharmacovigilance. So there is a need for a bridge between the two, and the minimal would be to use a similar concepts, same terminologies, and to be sure that there is a smooth interoperability between the two. Also another concern, maybe from my PIM life, let's say, it's about the layout. There is layout in the SPC. We want to structure that to give to the prescribers. Do we care about layouts? Do we care about images? We had difficulties with that in the past, so just a hint for you. Multilingualism, because we talk about SPC in English, but there will be nationally approved products. What to do with them? I know it's a slightly different QRD templates, maybe, so what do we do with that? And then if we are closely linked to the prescription and closely linked to the package, maybe to look at what is done in the anti-fraud system with the the e-pedigree and things like that. Maybe there are ways to connect e-SPC with that as well. Yep, and the next.
Okay. Are you through?
I think that's the last one. I think.
Oh, okay.
And then also something we experience with PIM is the implication of vendors. I think it's needed because we need systems on the user side, so we need that. But we would need an iterative approach because we don't know where to go to the end. So we need an iterative approach. But it's difficult to have both because especially for vendors, they will need to have a nice base of information so that they are able to sell systems that are their goal. So we need to find the right balance between the two. I'm not a vendor, so I'm very objective regarding that, but that's something to pay attention to. And then maybe I think the next slide is the conclusion. Yeah, it's interesting, it's challenging. We need to work together and find a good way to progress. And that's it.
We can have a few minutes for comments, question, only a few, please.
Could you talk about the XML, please?
XML is it's just a way to store information. It's a bit like a database. So the more important part is the model.
No, we had customers here who said the greatest wish would be fulfilled if we could present this in XML. Can we?
So
please,
so
you
yes,
have an answer, your colleague.
Oh.
This one, sorry, yeah. Maybe and from a vendor perspective, because I'm representing a vendor who is not only serving pharmaceutical industry, but many industries where XML is standard at this stage. And that has taken off when this industry accepted a standard, for example, DITA, which would say it is the job here to define what was just laid out in terms of how do you want, what granularity do you want to implement, but not discuss how that is then transformed into XML. Just take a standard which already has a support by a huge vendor base in terms of possible solutions. So if this would be an approach, in my mind, to adopt a standard like DITA, I think this would be a quick win in this context to have the necessary technology support available.
Okay, I think we have to close here. Thank you for this.